BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. And I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat room and everybody that is calling in. And different from what I usually do, I'm going to go ahead and bring Santara on board right now. Hello, Santara.
Hello, Chrism. How are you? Hello, everybody.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yes, you don't usually do this, Chrism.
I know.
You usually jump right in.
I know. And I'm going to ask you if you have collected any of your questions.
Yes, I have. Do you want me to start with those?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 2 seconds. And Chrism, as I do that and as I go over to them, I'm also going to now give the address that people, or the website people can go to if they want to make a donation. I'm going to give 3 places. You can go to chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. You can go to kundalinisafeties.com, or you can go to kas1uk.com, and there you will find donate buttons, and if you're in a position to donate, then all donations are gratefully received and are well used to support this work. So I'm over now, Chrism, in the where I have the questions, and I have a good few today, so
all right. Okay,
I
let's
will
begin.
Okay, here we go. The first question was sent privately and is also on the group, Chrism, and it just says, how does a person communicate, or should a person communicate with his or her Kundalini? Does this happen in the waking, dream, or meditation state?
It can happen in all states of mind, whether you're waking or sleeping or meditating. You can communicate with the Kundalini at all times, and you can communicate with the Kundalini the same way you'd communicate with another person, except this divine consciousness is within you. And so it kind of knows what you're going to ask, but it's important for you to ask it anyway, as a direct message from your consciousness to the divine consciousness within you. You can just talk to it the way you would talk to another person, albeit, it's good to be respectful and discerning in what you say to the divine. But yeah, and it's okay. It is not unhealthy to talk with your divine, especially if you're under a lot of pressure from your experience with the Kundalini. These are the times when you do want to have a conversation with your Kundalini, and it can be very helpful. So, for instance, if you're having strong Kriya activity, the Kriyas are the spontaneous movements that the Kundalini will give a person. If you're having really strong Kriya activity and you're worried about being at that company meeting and having a Kriya in the middle of the meeting, which could possibly happen, then you would have that conversation with the Kundalini, indicating that you would love to give her all the time that she wants to put your body into the Kriya phase, but if she could just pull back from the Kriyas during your office meetings, and this could be a very, very helpful conversation. I've suggested that people do this over the past, and it has turned out very positive, and so let that serve as a support for kind, considerate, respectful communication with the Kundalini. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. I am a beginner in meditation. Should I heal and balance chakras for Kundalini awakening, or will Kundalini open the chakras?
The chakras are not damaged. The chakras do not need help from the human ego in order to do anything. The chakras have a pre-programmed way of interacting with the body. They're a primary interface between the physically manifested physiology and the energetic anatomy. And that bridge really is along the spine where each chakra is located. And so, no, the chakras do not need your help to do anything. They're not sick. They're not dirty. They don't need your ego help to make them do what they do. They'll do it automatically just fine all by themselves. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question is, I have the feeling I do not feel my Kundalini in these days. What's happening, Chrism?
Oh, what did you do to make Shakti angry at you? That's not the real question. Actually, the real question is why do you have expectation of feeling the Kundalini every minute, every second of every day? Why? Where is your trust that the Kundalini is with you? Where is your confidence in the Kundalini being with you? You know, where are you going with that? What is happening with you with regards to your trust in the Kundalini? This is very important for people to understand, is you will not always get tactile affirmation of the presence of Kundalini within you. The tactility of it is, in some ways, can be too addicting for people. They'll only validate the Kundalini within them if they feel it within them. And then when they start not feeling it within them, well, then they lose that validation. This is not good. This is not something that you want to nurture. And so she will sometimes, often, take away any feeling of her presence within you and see where your confidence levels go. See where your validation of her presence within you goes. And it's very important for people to really make an honest, truthful assessment. Do you basically validate the presence of Kundalini only when you feel it? Or do you realize that it's there eternally? It's an eternal part of your life expression. It's never not there once it's awakened. So these are some questions that may help you answer your question. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Does the green color snake dream, have any special meaning related to Kundalini?
The love of Shakti is the special meaning that a serpent coming out of the fourth, or a serpent covered in green or having green skin. I mean, she does definitely dance along the melodies of the color frequencies of the chakras. And so often, people get a red dream or a red snake or a red woman or, these types of scenarios coming up into the dream life. And that red, of course, means the first chakra. And that red is typically surrounded by some sort of a femininity. And if it comes as a natural creature, such as a serpent or a tiger or wolf or a black dog with red eyes, this is all the Shakti communicating to you her presence within you, her activated or awakened presence. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. We're flying through these. Okay, so already 4 days always cramps in the first chakra. Fear goes continuously through the body. The lower body half is cold. Bladder and genital tract react with latent infection. And this comes every few months and is connected with fear. What to do? I'm sure it's energetic.
Just read it again, please.
Already 4 days, always cramps in the first chakra. Fear goes continuously through my body. The lower body part is very cold. My bladder and genital tract react with latent infection. This comes every few months and is connected with fear. What to do? I'm sure it's energetic.
Stop fearing. Over. You know the answer to the problem. So all you have to do is change how you participate in the problem. And right now, the answer to the problem, according to you, is that it's fear. Now, I might add that it's some detox going on there, but fear can also be detoxified. So look into it. Look into it. And before you continue on to the next one, I'm going to go ahead and see if our caller has a question here. And hello, caller.
Hi, I do have a question.
What's your name?
I've dealt with different forms of fear and rejection, and my chakras have been they haven't been aligned for.
Oops.
Hello?
Go ahead.
But I think my kids, specifically my youngest son, has picked up on it, and he's having major problems right now. And I just want to know what I could do energetically to help him. I mean, he's not in my physical location, but I know that energy works.
Well, why don't you create a really strong grounding for the house or for the area that you live in? Go to each corner of your home and create an energetic cord that goes to the center of the earth. Hello.
I'm listening.
Yeah, got to need to hold still because all that sound just came over. Oh boy.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a lot of sound there. Go to each corner of the apartment or the house or the home and create an energetic cord like a rope or like a chain that goes all the way into the earth and see it spread roots into the earth. And make sure you go to the upper corners, okay? And then as you have done that, go ahead and begin to manifest a strong level of kind, loving, helpful balance, not only within the house itself, but within your heart. You're the mama, and so everybody follows the mother. And so as you become calm and competent, so does everybody else follow suit, especially with children. So do that. Ground the house, ground yourself, and really see how that manifests. And so this means you're taking fear out of the equation. You're taking insecurity out of the equation. You're taking any kind of detrimental mental attitude or emotional attitude out of the equation. It doesn't have to be there. And let your child begin to bathe in that radiance, and you'll definitely see some changes in their behavior.
Even though he's physically not there with me, because we all did go through a major loss, and I think because I was so wounded and broken, it affected him.
Yeah, definitely. Do your forgivenesses too. Don't forget to forgive yourself for whatever malaise your major loss may have caused you to bring into the world. Forgive yourself. Forgive the source of that loss, and forgive the child, and make sure that you counsel him to work through forgiveness.
Yes, that's what I'm doing right now, because I didn't realize just how much it was affecting him. I'm trying to find the right counseling for him because he started to self-sabotage, and he's a very gifted child.
Tell him, give him examples of how you're working with forgiveness, and how forgiveness is really helping you find balance in your life, and let him learn from you the way he has always done his whole life. I take it he's an adult child, right?
Yes, he's 18, but he was very sheltered, and within the last 3 years, he was really thrown in a very hostile place where he went to school, and he's experienced a lot of mental and physical trauma and disappointment.
Well, you just let him know that you, your mom, the mom, loves him and accepts him exactly as he is. And tell him that there are many, many, many other people who will love him and validate him for being the person that he is, that he does not need to focus on those people who are going out of their way to hurt him or chastise him or, in other words, cause him sadness. you let him know that this is strengthening his heart. This is strengthening his level of self-perception. And if he can, he can forgive those people too. The people that are, bullying him or contradicting him or calling him names or whatnot. He can begin to forgive those, but he can also move them out of his social network.
Right, and that's what I'm hoping. I think the situation that he's in now, that it definitely will lead towards that, because this is not him, and he's hurting right now, and he's not physically.
But you counsel him to work through forgiveness, and also have him change the focus of his thinking on being grateful for the positive blessings that are in his life, the positive people, having such a positive parent like you in his life, having positive reinforcement is a great way to take out that negative attack that his social network is currently giving him, and that he does not need to believe what they're saying. They do not know him, and they are not telling him the truth of himself. What they're doing really is telling him the truth of themselves.
Exactly.
See, they're mirroring their own inner hurtfulness, and these. And he doesn't need to take that as fact, and he doesn't need to let sadness in him give any of those comments or commentaries validation. So he can forgive them, and he can move them out of his social network, and he can have gratitude, for the really good person that we both know he is, and that, he can definitely find levels of opportunity and social satisfaction from gratitude and forgiveness, far more so than sadness and depression.
Now, how do I specifically ground the house? Because I live in an apartment. I have 2 other floors.
That's okay.
I can
you just visualize your apartment as a house that's on the floor. That it's like it's a house, and it's on the dirt. You just go from the ceiling, the corners in the ceiling, straight into the earth, straight in. And you see that rope or that chain or that structure that you use take root, and that it spreads out all through the earth, and it holds it firmly into the earth. And then any negative energies that come into that apartment will go straight into the earth, and the earth knows how to deal with that better than, the people living in the house or the apartment. And so do that. And if you can get any Palo Santo, that's PALO space SANTO, Palo Santo, and you burn Palo Santo in the house. It's like an incense. It's a very strong, good-smelling incense. It's a natural wood from South America, and that also has a very, very, very positive effect on eliminating negative entities or spirits or negative forces that may come into the apartment.
Yeah, because we were dealing with that, and I know that that's part of the situation. I was trying to explain it, but I couldn't.
Well, now you can. Now you can, my dear.
Now I can.
Now you can explain it. Am I losing you here?
No, I'm right here. Because I think he's more receptive to what I have to say now.
Well, yeah, you have more information, and more information will always make you more powerful in what it is that you need to understand and express. And so I encourage you to go to your child, your 18-year-old, and you come into helping him find his own solutions using forgiveness and gratitude as the most effective vectors of application.
Yes, because people were trying to use him and threaten him to do things, and
he needs
put him in a very bad state.
Change his social network, change his ways of being validated through socialism. Blessings to you, my dear.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And coming back to you, Miss Santara, hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Chrism. Thank you.
And next question, please.
Okay, well, the next question I'm taking straight from the group now. It's been sent in by Indra Bissam, and this is it. Is there any such a thing as too much spiritual practice or to be too strong? I can spend an entire day or weekend in meditation, mantras, etc., outside my everyday practice. My Kundalini energy increases tremendously, and I was wondering if this is helpful or harmful. This has been ongoing for 2 years, and people around me are starting to wonder about me now. I have an empty feeling or a longing inside of me when I am away from my spiritual practices, and I find myself feeling a lack within, especially when I am away from it for a long period of time. Is this normal? Am I on the right path, Chrism?
Jeez, Santara, just like these really long, elongated questions.
Well, I'm reading it from the group, Chrism. Will I read it again?
No. Energetically speaking, there is a such thing as having too much energy going on, but typically one finds this out through the tactile presence of pain upon the body. So if you're doing too much prayer, or you're doing too much meditation, or you're doing too much of the safeties, like you're doing the safeties, 6 times a day, and you're doing a lot of pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, things like that, you can really energetically overload the body, and the body will respond in fairly severe levels of pain to get you to stop and just rest for a while. Now, that doesn't mean that you stop permanently. That means that you just take it down a notch or 4. Take it away from six times a day down to 2. And you may need to give yourself a little bit of a break just to let your body metabolize that which you've already created within it by virtue of the spiritual practice. Sometimes the body needs to process these energies first before you continuously add new levels of energetic into the spiritual practice. So, yes, you can have too much, and yes, that will be a physical, tactile pain as well as a psychological and emotional imbalance. So, for instance, the emotional imbalance and the psychological imbalance is small irritations will become volcanic eruptions. Little things will become really, really, really big things. Or you'll become obsessive compulsive about a certain thing. That picture just won't be straight enough for you on the wall, or the silverware setting on the table just won't be quite straight enough, or it's not going to be exactly the way you want it, and so you become overly obsessed and compulsive with that obsession. And so you need to really, really begin to pull back from the energetic development and allow the body to process that first. Then, after you've done that, say you've given yourself a break for 3 days or a week, whatever, then come back into the practice, and you can keep it strong, but not as strong as you have been. Have the confidence that the energy that you're generating through the practice is enough to do what the Kundalini in you wants it to do. The other aspect of this is don't worry really about what other people are thinking about you. As long as you're not doing some weird snake dance down the sidewalk or doing something that frightens them because they think that you're just so off the deep end now that they need to do an intervention, try to keep the strangeness that you manifest. Well, that's just weird. having some okay. The strangeness that you manifest, like I just did. Private. Try to keep that private. Don't, you know. So, for instance, if the Kundalini is bringing a Kriya onto you and you can feel the Kriya coming on, don't have the Kriya right there on the living room floor in front of everybody watching TV. This is what Amelia does in Ireland, and it can be very, very disconcerting. Right, Satara?
I'd prefer if you didn't share that, Chrism.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, you don't want to have that Kriya right in front of everybody. They're going to look at you turning yourself into a pretzel and go, Dad, what's Mom doing? Dad doesn't know. So you have to be very, kind and considerate in how you manifest your Kundalini spirituality and your Kundalini activity in front of other people. Because those people that are not having that, it's a good possibility, they're going to be frightened. They're going to be frightened by that. And that's when, these terrible things called interventions occur. And I'm not going to say that interventions are always terrible. You can really help a person who is really having a difficult time by having an intervention, even though that's almost a guarantee here in the States, at least, as a chemical incursion of drugs and sedatives and things. But sometimes that is helpful for a person who is struggling hard. But typically not with Kundalini, unless, of course, the person is so far into Kundalini syndrome or something like that that an intervention is actually a good thing. So be very astute and aware of your surroundings as you're doing your spiritual practice and as you're having the energetic effects of that spiritual practice. Don't start, looking into people's eyes to the point where you're totally invading their inner space, for instance. That's very easy for a Kundalini person to do, is just to look into the pupil of the eye as you're going, hi, can you tell me where the next gas station is on the road? Or, you're engaging in fairly civil and normal conversation, except you're totally invading their space with your eyes, trying to discern the very tiniest shred of privacy that they may want to keep just to test out your skill. Don't do that to people. They'll get it. They'll understand that, whoa, that Chrism guy, he's just a little bit off. I felt like my head was being drilled out. And so you don't do that. You got to be very kind, compassionate, and considerate in how you allow the Kundalini, and you're not allowing the Kundalini, but she understands the social environment that you're in. And so if you can separate yourself to some degree while you're having symptomology from that social environment, those folks who may be disturbed by it, then that would be a good thing to do as well. Try not to inflict your Kundalini symptoms on people who don't have Kundalini, don't understand it, and don't particularly want it because of how you're demonstrating it to them. They don't want to be turned into a pretzel. They're fine just the way they are. Thank you very much. And so it's very critical that you find the temperance within yourself and the motivation that when you feel the grace coming on in a specific way that is going to disturb other people, that you just kind of excuse yourself from that room or you excuse yourself from that scenario. And if you can't, then as per the other question that we answered, ask the Kundalini to tone it down so that other people are not so frightened by what they may see or experience you doing. Did I answer all her questions? Did I cover any or miss any?
I know it's very hard when there's so detailed, Chrism. No, I think you answered it. I suppose she does mention, feeling empty or longing when she's away from her spiritual practice. So let's imagine that she does.
Okay,
that
thank
she
you.
Doesn't.
Okay, please stop.
Okay.
Stop. I'm trying to take it piecemeal here.
I'm stopping.
Okay.
I'm stopping.
Thank you. So when you get so used to an energetic practice, it becomes a part of your expected life response during your day. So your body becomes accustomed to it, and your ego becomes accustomed to it. And your body and your ego become accustomed to the level of Kundalini that is generated through that spiritual practice. And these are all good things. These are all very, very, very good things. But this is when the Kundalini will all of a sudden leave a person. If they're becoming too accustomed and too dependent upon the tactile feelings or the energetic feelings that the person is purposefully initiating into their process by virtue of a practice. She wants you to trust, and she wants you to really validate that trust by not having expectations. And the lack, when you're feeling sad or you're feeling alone or you're feeling things like that because you've had to stop your practice or tone your practice down, that doesn't mean that you have to lose your trust that it is that Grace is there, Grace is working with you all the time. Now, if Grace is insisting, and I'm just getting this right now from Kundalini, if the Grace is insisting on having such a strong level of interaction with you that is bleeding out into the outer environment, then you need to excuse yourself and allow that to occur. Go to the next room, go out into the backyard, maybe take a small vacation from family and friends, even a weekend, out in the cabin in the woods somewhere, or out into a place where it is safe for you to have these experiences without, scaring the dickens out of everybody around you. So, but allow yourself to trust more when you feel like you're going through a bit of a withdrawal because you have toned down your energetic spiritual practice sober. What else was part of that? You were going on and on.
I was not. I'm done.
Oh, okay.
I think that's it, Chrism. Yeah. So will I go on to the next one?
Please, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question. What are your thoughts on the Oneness University? I heard they teach you a bit about
Oneness University. Yeah, it is not what it says it is. This is a ruse. R-U-S-E. It is a ruse to bring people over who are spiritually seeking, strongly spiritually seeking, and it's using the whole idea of unity consciousness or oneness consciousness as a baited hook to pull people into the Oneness University where they're charged exorbitant prices and they're told to buy certain things and supposedly you're receiving Shaktipat there and I've seen the people that are doing this, and it is as bogus as you could get. It is a money drain. Now, it's always good to meet people who are interested in these types of scenarios, and so the people coming would be far more worth meeting than the people that are running a place. The trip to India, this pilgrimage you're making towards finding unity consciousness within you, or the activated awakened Kundalini within you, that in and of itself is far more important than actually doing anything at this Oneness University. This is just it's a money drain. It is a ruse to bring people down there. But hey, if this is something that you want to do, then I encourage you to do it. But I encourage you to to pay closer attention to the people that you are there with, and to listen to them, and to mingle with them, and to be with them, and just forget about the university. That's my advice. This one is university, and the Shaktipat they give is just this. It's on the foolish side of ridiculous. All you have to do is look at their picture. They're trying to make themselves look like stone statues in India. So they have a very blank stare, and they're just sitting in their chairs, this man and this woman, and they're like, and I'm just kind of going, yeah, well, your energy is about as blank as your stare. So have a good time and try not to steal too many people's monies. It's a very interesting karmic burden that they're giving to themselves. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. I feel a lump in my throat and felt it immediately. Sorry, I'll begin again. I feel a lump in my throat and immediately felt pain while eating. I did a few hours of healing meditation, focusing on my throat chakra, but I still feel it while swallowing my saliva. The hum I vibrate seems to be causing intense headache, resonating from within my head. I was thinking of reminding myself of all the pain I have been through, thinking I will cry, but it seems I cannot get myself to cry. What can I do? Help.
Chewing helps a lot. You might want to chew the food a bit more. And an irritation of the trachea or of the upper throat area can be perceived as a lump. So if you're not chewing the food, or if you're swallowing bones or ice or anything that has a jagged edge on it, and or you're not chewing it enough, you can scrape the upper areas of the throat. That area in the throat can swell, and that can develop into a lump that the energetic person will figure is something that is energetically produced, when in fact it's a swallowing issue more than anything. But if you also have an energetic aberration, say within the throat chakra, you get a lump there, just make sure that you're staying well hydrated. Make sure that you're backing off of some of these intentional ego-enforced generative practices. Don't do too much pranayama, for instance. Get out and ground yourself next to a tree or in the soil. Really begin to look at what you're doing energetically. How are you communicating to Kundalini? How are you communicating to other people? What levels of communication need improvement on? How are you communicating spirituality? How are you communicating radiance? What perhaps the Kundalini in you wants to radiate, and what's look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing in a communicative. Look at your eyes, your ears, your nose, and your throat. It's not just the throat. Look at your eyes, your ears, your nose, and your throat. And look at any kind of imbalances. What are you seeing? How are you communicating what you're seeing? How are you communicating what you're hearing? Okay? Look at your levels of communication, not only with others, but with yourself and with your Kundalini. And if you're going too far into certain areas, then back off of those areas. Remember, balance is a key ingredient to Kundalini awakening, and it has that tendency to amplify every aspect of who we are. And if we're already out of balance, well, then those out of balances have now been tremendously amplified by the Kundalini. So be aware of that. Over. Okay, just a second now.
Can I?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I can wait. It's in connection with that. I wanted to suggest something, but yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if it could be connected to something that the person is eating, because sometimes Kundalini can also communicate about our food, and perhaps before this, Kundalini was communicating about what the person was eating and they were ignoring the Kundalini perhaps. And then very often, I know in my own experience anyway, Kundalini will give actual pain that can be quite severe because it pulls your attention to that area, and maybe it's possible that it could be connected to diet.
It is possible. It is possible. Okay, let's see. We have a question from the chat room as Inara comes over for a pet. Hi, sweetheart. Can you go over and sit down? Like a good girl, like you've been a good girl all this show. Don't lick the computer. No. Don't lick the stop. Okay. Okay. Atlanta Seeker says, Chrism, what is your opinion of Guru Paramahamsa Nityananda, if you're familiar with him? Nityananda. There's so many people now that, oh, wait a minute. Atlanta Seeker, if you could, is this the Nityananda, the man that is calling himself Nityananda here in India, the young guy that is supposedly giving Shaktipat to people, this guy? I'll need you to clarify that because I do have a very definite opinion of that gentleman. So you'll have to, Atlanta Seeker, you're going to have to let me know if this is the person that you, yes, okay, no. My opinion, did she ask my opinion? Yeah, my opinion. My opinion of Nityananda is similar to my opinion of the Oneness University. Once again, these are people that have really good marketing organizations behind them, and they are calling to those people that are seeking and promising something that they themselves do not have to give. This guy that's calling himself Paramahamsa Nityananda is not Kunalini awakened. Matter of fact, he has a hard time meditating himself. This is a man that was caught on video having sex with two Bollywood starlets. Most of his ashrams were burned at that time. And he said, oh, no, that was trick video. They were, and I can totally understand that if that was the case. But, when I look at him and when I see him, I do not see Kundalini in him at all. When I first was alerted to his presence, it was back in the 2009, 2010. And, I went to one of his little community buildings in the Los Angeles area. And I noticed, it's very, very straightforward Hinduism, and he's basically teaching people how to meditate, saying meditate's going to be the answer to all your problems. And frankly, I didn't have a problem with that at all. But he has just started in the last few years to move into the Kundalini area, and this is not. He does not have the Kundalini to give. And he can call himself whatever holy name he wants to call himself, but he doesn't have the Kundalini to give. And my opinion about him giving Shaktipat is very similar to my opinion about the Oneness University giving Shaktipat or transferring Kundalini, giving people the Kundalini start within themselves. I think it is a money drain, once again. And they have a number of these people coming out of India, and Nityananda is one of these guys. I wish I knew his real name because I really don't like calling him the name that he's given himself because he is not that person. Nityananda was a very famous Indian saint a few years back, and this guy is just basically taken his name just to give himself a level of credibility. Excuse me, Nora, not the basket. You don't get to chew on the basket. I'm sorry, honey bun. Yes. Find another toy. That's Nora, the dinosaur-sized German Shepherd. So, yeah, that's my opinion of him. And I don't enjoy. Ask me about my opinion of Paramahansa Yogananda. Awesome guy. Totally had the Kundalini. You could go to his places right now On the West Coast, you can go to the shrine in Encinitas, California. You can go to the shrine in the Los Angeles area. You can go to the Lake Shrine. You can feel his energy everywhere. He was really, really good, and so was his lineage. You can also feel his lineage, and the things that he did was so giving, was so entrusted towards unifying the different religions and unifying the different races. And this is the mark of a Kundalini awakened individual. Now I'm talking about the man, Atlantis Seeker. I'm not talking about the group that he developed after he died. I'm talking about the individual. The people that followed him didn't necessarily have his juice, shall we say. They didn't have the level of Kundalini that they needed to have, but they had, a lot of his teachings, and I think that they did good. They did good work, as good as they could do without having Kundalini. They did good work with his teachings remaining, and so this is the kind of person that we're talking about. Ramakrishna, same type of a deal. Vivekananda, same type of a deal. Not these usurpers of the true saints, which would be Oneness University and this guy calling himself Nityananda. I'm talking about the real saints in the Indian tradition. Aurobindo is another one. These guys were really, they had it. They had it. And they, of course, we all pass away and we leave that footprint. But these guys all left a really, really strong footprint of Kundalini awakening. You want to talk about Indian saints? Let's talk about the ones who really were, like the ones that I just mentioned. Not this guy that's going around, smiling really pretty and attracting the girls and the Bollywood actresses, even though he's wearing the orange robes. When you wear the orange robes within a Hindu or Indian context, you're supposed to be practicing brahmacharya, and they're not. He's obviously not doing that. He's just not getting caught these days. I don't, it's amazing to me, but I think people are attracted to that which they need to have. And if they need what Nityananda is offering, then all power to them. But from a Kundalini standpoint, there's not much there. Okay, over. And yes, Yogananda wrote the autobiography of a yoga. And Atlantis Seeker says that she thought she heard some wisdom from him. And the radiance does not come off of him. When you have the Kundalini, you can see the radiance coming off of an individual. And your own Kundalini there will tell you the truth of his activity or awakening or not. Your own Kundalini will tell you this. And so this is how you're able to discern whether or not a person is what they say they are. Over. Go ahead, Amelia.
Okay, next question. I want to know what is the difference between Kundalini and the Holy Spirit and how we can recognize both.
Well, now people, this is a Christian context question. So Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, fire of Christ, a certain Christian sects will say that the Holy Ghost is different from the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is different from the fire of Christ. And, it depends really on what flavor of Christianity you choose to follow. Catholicism or Mormonism or, some of the stronger evangelical Baptists or Lutherans or Protestantism, or there's so many different flavors of Christianity, and they will have very different meanings, and about what the Holy Spirit is, the Holy Ghost is, and the fire of Christ is. And in my opinion, since they're asking this of me, it is all the same. the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, the fire of Christ, the Word made flesh is Kundalini. Kundalini is literally God, goddess. It is the divine human aspect. And it comes aspected in both genders, not just some guy, some white guy with a beard hanging in, or not a beard, but a beard hanging out on a cloud. This is not that. Okay. Kundalini is the true divine source. And it is that truth that comes to a person and will come to a Christian as the Holy Ghost. If that's what they need, and if that's the context that they're awakening within, then that's what's going to come to them. If you're a Hindu, then it's going to come to you as Shakti or Shiva. If you're a Buddhist, then it's going to come to you in some way that reflects Buddhism to you. If you're a shaman, then it's going to come to you in the way that the shamanistic practice that you engage in will validate for you. And for some, that's taking the ayahuasca. That would be a shamanistic aspect of help. And so that's my opinion on the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit, or fire of Christ.
Thanks, Chrism. The other question is similar but a little different. What is the difference between God and the Kundalini?
Kundalini would be the hand of God, and so literally, is not your hand a part of the whole? So too is God's hand the part of the God and Goddess. It's the divine hand, the heavenly hand that is on your shoulder, that is guiding you, that is inside your spine. And so, yes, God and Kundalini are one. Just like you and Kundalini and God are one. Over.
Okay, thank you. You're clicking a lot there, Chrism.
I'm actually, I'm scratching Inara's ear. And she has...
Well, that's what...
I'm trying to get her
to
to not
a different
lick
click.
the computer. Now she's got her foot. No, come on, sweetheart. Stay down. Good girl. Good girl.
Okay.
I'm being attacked by a German Shepherd.
Okay, so the next question. Are we ready? Will I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. She's laying on the computer now. You may hear some noise.
Okay. If Kundalini is active by birth, what does that signify? And if it's lost in middle age, can it be reactivated?
Well, let's take the last question first. If your Kundalini is activated from birth, then you can't lose it. If it's true Kundalini, then you can't lose it. And so you need to discern what it is you're using as a way of measuring your Kundalini. And it sounds like this person is using tactility as a way of measuring their Kundalini. Would you agree, Santara?
I think I would, Chrism. It would seem that way, yes.
Yes. And so
that's how they're defining the loss.
Right. That's an erroneous measuring device that's using symptomology to validate the Kundalini within you. And if you're born with it, well, then, you're going to get inured to the symptomology anyway because you were born with it and you're living with it your entire life. So I'm going to question that this person is born with it, number one. Okay. But if a person is born with it, that means that you've had it in a previous life. And that you've chosen to take another life, take another spin in the old human mobile, and to refine yourself even further and further and further. And it feels to me like this person made a good choice in taking another body because there's more wisdom that needs to be collected. There's more of an understanding of what Kundalini is and how it is that this person needs to metabolize within his or her process, Kundalini never leaves the person. And so if you're born with Kundalini activated or awakened, it stays that way. It may not necessarily give you continuous tactile affirmation. Okay, that's something that your ego begins to expect. And, it's the expectation of the ego that we typically do not want to give any kind of validation for. Over.
And the person also asks the question, is there any link between Kundalini and moksha?
Moksha is for the people that don't know the Sanskrit term moksha. Moksha means, realization, enlightenment. You reached the all that is, and that is there. So basically, they're saying they're using moksha in a way that is differentiating itself from Kundalini enlightenment, which there is no difference. And so moksha is enlightenment. You've got to have Kundalini to have enlightenment. That is what enlightens the pineal gland. That is what gives the person the vision. That is what helps develop the corona around the person's head, or the halo. That's what enlarges the energetic footprint to like a kilometer in a fully awakened individual. So moksha is just the Sanskrit word for enlightenment, and you've got to have Kundalini to have that. Over.
Okay, so the next question was from somebody else who said, are there other ways to get moksha without having Kundalini awakened? But you've answered that, I guess.
No. I mean, what I said when I answered that, I said anything is possible, but not all things are probable. So God could arrange for we'll just use Rosemary. Or no, we'll use Andrew Lucariello. So Andrew, God can have this little conversation with Andrew. Says, Andrew, I think that I want to have you reach enlightenment without having your Kundalini activated. How do you feel about that? And we'll just pretend. We'll say, well, Andrew says, well, anything you say, my Lord, divine God, as we should all answer. And then God could swoop down and give Andrew that enlightenment without activating the Kundalini. So I'm not going to speak in such absolute terms that says that, oh no, the divine can't do whatever it wants to do. Okay. The divine can do whatever it wants to do, but I will say that it is not probable that a person will reach enlightenment without having the Kundalini awakened. Over. Thank you, Andrew, for letting me use you.
Okay.
Andrew's here in the chat room.
Okay, Chris. What does a thundering sound mean? I mean, where is it leading a person to? These days, when I start meditation, I see a pimple on the place of Agya chakra. When I leave practicing, it disappears. First, I thought it was a coincidence, but now it seems not, or is it?
So you're not popping that pimple, I would suggest, right? Or does a new one appear? And you're not eating beans before you go to bed, which could be a thunderous activity.
I wonder, do they mean in their ears, do you think?
Well, their ears or their bed sheets. I don't know which one. But a thunder... Sorry. What is the sound of thunder? I mean, that's kind of a wide open thing. I mean, you can get a thunderclap when you leave the body during astral projection. You can have a clairaudience manifestation of thunder as well. I will suggest, what I'm getting right now is I will suggest that thunder would be an indication of a first and second chakra movement with the Kundalini. Now, as far as the pimple going, that to me would be a signature of too much energy. Too much energy. What's the context of the pimple again?
These days, when I start to meditate, I see a pimple on the place of Agya chakra, Agyaya chakra. And when I stop practicing, it disappears.
What chakra?
Agya chakra.
Oh, Agni. That means fire. That's Agni, fire chakra. That would suggest that's the first chakra. Okay, so.
And when you stop practicing, it disappears. I'm wondering, does that mean they're looking at their self? I mean, are they talking about a real? Are they looking in the mirror?
What? No, what? Probably not.
What?
But what? Yes.
Well, a pimple. I'm just trying to visualize what they mean. I'm not quite getting it.
Maybe they're looking at the pimple in a mirror. I mean, where is it developing? Where do they get the pimple at?
The Agni chakra.
Oh, down there, huh? Good stuff.
Yeah, let's see that.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah. So typically, when you have any kind of a skin outbreak with levels of Kundalini, that is an indication of too much energy going through the system. I think the person really kind of asked, they weren't specific enough. They were specific but not specific. They were making assumptions that I don't necessarily buy into. They weren't. They're using Agni, Shakti, and things like that. Trying to commit me to answering their little test question of whether I know what the Agni Shakti is, and I do. And so, but typically, it's a sign of too much energy being orchestrated by the ego through the system, and the pimple is there to tell you to turn it down. Over.
Okay, thanks.
Still getting
the
a lot
next
of noise?
question.
Are you still getting a lot of noise through the speakers?
Just there
Even
now.
now?
Yeah,
Really?
it's the repetition. No, not
Weird.
now. That's more an occasional squeak.
Go ahead.
The other one is a tapping. Anyway. Should a Kundalini awakening person marry a person who is not awakened? Please, please, please tell me.
Yes.
Because in the place I live.
Absolutely. You just got to make sure that he or she knows that you're in the process of having Kundalini and that they're able to respect that and to move with that, and you might be able to educate them on the symptoms, and they need to be open to that education. A lot of men aren't open to being taught by their wife about Kundalini. Some men are, but many men, don't want to really hear about it so much. Do you find that to be true, Santara?
I don't know many men, Chrism.
All right. Well, I'll just leave that alone. No, don't lick the computer. Come on now. Go ahead. Oh, did I not answer it?
No, you did. I can continue.
Okay. Next one, please.
Okay, so the next question is, can you share, it's at the end of a long, 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 long piece, so I'm just asking the end. It says, can you share your take on self-worth and self-love, please? Maybe I need to hear that from you, as I am not able to accept it within myself.
Well, self-worth and self-love kind of are the same thing. I mean, self-validation. You can have it, but you don't want to have it to the extreme. You don't want to have it to the point where all you're doing is really giving yourself self-love, or that becomes a real expanded egotistic expression. You want to be, and you don't want to. And a lot of people will run their idea of self-love about other people. So they'll run they'll take how they feel about another person and run it through their idea of their own self-love, and then give that back to that other person as a judgment. Don't do that. Realize that you are nothing and everything at the same time, equal parts of nothing and everything. Realize that you are God, goddess, and human at the same time. So you're immortal and you're mortal at the same time. Realize that the love that you have for your divine aspect is that precious gift that you can have. I'm going to have to put her out in the back. Stand by a minute. Can you tap dance for a second there, Amelia?
Yes, of course.
Give them your take.
I'm Irish. We can all... Yeah, okay. I was going to say I'm Irish, so I can always tap dance. I suppose one of the things I remember at one particular point is that there was a big teaching out there for people that self-love was about learning to say no. You know, and I remember it was really, really popular. Stop saying yes and learn to say no, and that's how you can love yourself. And while I can understand, you know, it's important to be able to say no, I think it's really important to be able to say yes to so many things. Saying no isn't really about self-love. It often has to do with the ego and what the ego does not want to do or is resisting, whereas the Kundalini will be guiding you to do things that the ego doesn't want you to do, and it tends to project itself sometimes and suggest that you need to say no more often, because you're not loving yourself enough if you're giving it things. And so that's something that I'd like to say. You know, saying no is not about self-love. Saying no is often about ego love. Are you back?
Not yet. Go ahead.
Tap, 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 tap. I hear you. You're sitting into the chair.
What did you say?
See, I know how many steps from the room into the chair. Well, I was saying how that I remember a time when there was a lot of things going out there, Chrism, about self-love, and that we had to learn to say no. That if we really loved ourselves, we had to learn to say no to people. And I was suggesting that, you know, very often it's ego that's there kind of saying, you're not loving yourself. You need to say no more often. And really, we need to say yes, 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 yes. And that's often how we can love ourselves more. That saying no is often about ego love and not about self-love. You're still doing things, aren't you?
I want to invite the folks in the chat room to give their opinion on this as well. And so please feel free to write out your opinion on any of these questions. Good. So yeah, self-love. You need to have enough love and enough self-respect and self-discipline and things. These are all aspects of self-love. So you need to have enough self-love to keep you going within the Kundalini, but not so much so that it becomes the entire basis for you having the Kundalini. I agree with you, Amelia, that there are times when you need to tell yourself, no, I am not the grand dragon of all humanity, and I am not to go around pontificating or self-aggrandizing myself as if I am. No. I love myself, and I know that, and I love the Kundalini within me, but I don't love myself at the expense of other people or the animals or the earth or, anything like that. I mean, it's a very, very different scenario. Mary Jean is writing, and she says, to love others, you need to love yourself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, there you go. I totally agree with Mary Jean. And Mary Jean, thank you. Thank you for putting that out there, because it's very true. But you don't need to have the cup overflowing onto the table and onto the floor either. So there's a certain level of balance there, as I mentioned earlier. We need to have the balance in the quantity and quality of the love we give to ourselves, and therefore to the love that we give to others.
Yeah, and I think, Chrism, that we also can learn to love ourselves through loving. I mean, I totally agree with Mary Jean, but also I think through loving others, we learn to love ourselves too. That's how it can develop in us, by giving love to others.
That is one way that it can be developed, but once again, you got to have it to give it, right?
Yeah, of course you do. But for example, when you've got children that come along, for example, they can teach you an awful lot about love and even self-love.
So can German Shepherds.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because we become kind. Anyway, it doesn't matter, But I agree. I mean, if you don't love yourself, you can't love others. I mean, it's not a linear thing, I think a lot of these things are all going on at the same time.
Right.
Will I move on?
Yes, please. Next question.
Okay. The next question is long, so I'm quickly looking at it. Okay, so this person is going through some ping-pong behavior with their daily food needs, going from eating a bunch of unhealthy foods like chocolate, etc., and then going on a one-day fast, and then a really healthy organic spree. And I suppose they're beginning to wonder about that, and what's really forcing them to do that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and respond to that much, okay?
Thank you.
Chocolate is not necessarily unhealthy. I know that's going to cause a lot of disturbance in some of you, but organic, free-range, breastfed chocolate is not necessarily unhealthy for you. It has a lot of lecithin in it. In some ways, the chocolate bean itself is considered a superfood. And so to have your Kundalini call for you to eat more chocolate is not necessarily calling for you to eat more junk food. Sometimes within the Kundalini equation, we will have stronger levels and stronger needs for sugar consumption. Not talking about high fructose corn syrup, but talking about sugar. Sugars as in like what more pure chocolate is about. Honey is definitely indicated. Matter of fact, honey would be the top of my list for Kundalini people to consume, because there's such a connection between the honeybee and Kundalini within the person. But also fructose of different varieties, fruits and sweet things of that nature. We can have a higher need, a higher propensity for ingesting that from the Kundalini itself. And so, you really want to watch, where you're adopting your ideology about the food groups and what role that sugar has to play within it, because you know, Kundalini burns, and it burns our minerals at a greater rate. It burns our proteins at a greater rate. It burns our enzymes at a greater rate, and it burns our sugar at a greater rate. And so those things will need to be replaced. Now, it sounds to me like the person is struggling with their egocentric understandings of what junk food is or isn't. And so, you know, with that in mind, I would suggest that this person begin to reorganize what they're calling junk food. Chocolate, if you can get the right kind of chocolate, chocolate is not a junk food. I would also go for honey. I would also go for any, you know, dried fruits if you can get them dried without the sulfur in it. Peaches, pears, apples, grapes, cherries, plums, bananas, coconuts, watermelon, pomegranates. You know, these are all very, very, they have high sugar content, and, you know, they're very good for you, and they can assuage that sweet, I don't like to use the word sweet tooth, but, you know, that kind of describes it. Yeah, go ahead. I heard you.
Actually, because I said chocolate, etc., but your point about what the person is defining as unhealthy, because they mentioned gluten bread, but they also mentioned meat. So I think your point about their definition of what an unhealthy food is probably very important, because meat isn't unhealthy.
Well, you know,
Again,
no, that's true. That's true. And you know, we're not also having them eat an entire cake.
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. But please share now with everybody. Now, you do know it was organic, gluten-free carrot cake.
It was a free-range cake.
But it was a whole one. I mean, you know, the 1 pound loaf. And the bad thing was it did have delicious frosting on top.
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I'm sure not. Can I just ask, Chrism, the person says, what's really forcing me, they're saying, 1 second now, to do this is the smell. It waves over from the Christmas market, and I get it. I should not resist the Kundalini if my body wants to have that experience.
Well,
but I won't anymore. There's no use, right?
Stop for a second.
I'm stopped.
The Kundalini will expand your sense of smell, and that is not only in the sense that you can smell things from a great distance, but it'll also expand the olfactory response to that smell, which would be tied into memories. 40% of smells will respond within the memory cortex of the brain. So 40% of smells can trigger memories. And you'll associate those memories with, in this case, Christmas and all the good tasting things that we can consume during the Christmas time. And you don't want to necessarily confuse what the Kundalini is doing to your senses as the Kundalini guiding you to eat as many Christmas cakes as you can possibly stuff into your mouth. You want to realize that an increased sense of smell is very important. An increased sense of smell equals an increased sense of memory, equals an increased sense of wow, you know, that Christmas market smells really good. I'm going to go in there and get something to eat. It doesn't necessarily mean that the Kundalini is calling you to eat anything from that Christmas market. So let's get that one straight right there. So don't use your increased acuity and vision, your increased hearing, your increased smell, your increased technology to judge or gauge what the Kundalini would be compelling you to do. So there's that. Like you said before, I think the person's definition of what is unhealthy and healthy needs to be maybe studied a little bit harder. Gluten-free is great. I've got no problem with gluten-free. I love gluten-free pancakes. But I can also consume things that have gluten in it as well. I mean, the Kundalini is not as politically correct as the Western mind would assume that it would be, based upon the criteria of judgment that we use to judge different foods. I'm sure that the ancient people that were baking bread in the Celtic kiln, may have had some gluten in their wheat, as it's a natural component of wheat. So, I'm sure that they weren't going around going, "Wow, do you have gluten-free cave bread for sale here?" I mean, come on. People can go way overboard on some of these things. Now, the organic is a necessary component because of our farming techniques. Our farming techniques here in the United States, at least, use so many levels of pesticide and fungicide and insecticide and herbicides that basically it's death food. It is food that has killed everything else except the plant in order to maximize tonnage for the farmer. And I used to be a farmer, so I know all about the whole tonnage. You're getting tons per acre or tons per hectare, and that's how you make the money. So this is what they're doing in the United States. Probably not in Ireland, because Ireland is so pure and clean in their food processing, right, Amelia?
Absolutely, Chris. I suppose, hasn't modern wheat is so different, though, compared to the wheat grown long ago in ancient Celtic Ireland?
True enough.
Modern
True
wheat
enough.
isn't the same thing. Sure,
spelt.
Yeah.
Spelt is better wheat. If you can get spelt bread, that would be the best bread to get. Spelt bread. Yeah. Now you can have sourdough spelt bread. You could have, spelt bread with raisins in it. I mean, it's the wheat that they make from it. Most of the bread these days, 90% of the bread these days, is made from a genetically modified wheat, and not necessarily a good thing. A lot of people have a negative response to it. Same with the corn. There's a lot of corn out there that is GMO, and of course, Monsanto and other producing countries are trying to spread that into other countries' agri-systems, and that's really unfortunate to see that occurring. I'll be going to Brazil in January, and Brazil, has a real big thing with Monsanto based products, and I remember the last time I was there, I think with you, Amelia, that when we were going to the 14th parallel, past a lot of Monsanto managed fields of corn and wheat and whatnot. It was kind of unfortunate to see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the spelt though has it does have gluten, but it's different. I think long ago as well, the grain was prepared differently. It was sprouted, wasn't it? And it was just done differently. The whole preparation into the flour was done differently. Now it's bleached, you see, and it's just quick rise yeast, and it's just terrible for us. So I agree, Chrism. If people can get spelt bread, well, then the gluten in that, I think, is far better. Different, anyway.
Agreed. Continue.
Isn't that what what's that wonderful woman from the 12th century in France? She has recipes. The nun, I can't think of her name.
Hildegard von Bingen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has a lot of spelt recipes from back then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question is, do we feel pains in our legs And does this mean the energies have fallen?
No. Now you can have minor kriyas, like say in the calf, or you can have spasms in the calf. You can have spasms in the toes. You can have hyperarching of the feet. You can also have the opposite of hyperarching in the feet, where you want to lift the toes up as far as you can. These types of things can occur with the Kundalini for sure. That doesn't mean the energy has fallen. The energy doesn't really fall anymore. Once you reach a certain level, the energy is there, omnipresent. It is always there. It's not going up or down. It may have flow rates, but the flow rates are for the entire organism, not just certain parts of it. When you say fall or raise, that's kind of an indication that some part of it hasn't received it yet, which is giving it room to fall or raise. What I'm saying is that there's an internal, consistent flow of Kundalini going throughout the person's whole physical, neurological, psychological system. It's always there all the time. And what will happen is that the Kundalini will pick and choose a certain time to focus on a certain area that needs, upgrades. And that would be, that could be the toes, the feet, the calves, the knees, the quads, any part of the body, she will come to, and she will give transformative instructions to, and that can be perceived, in a tactile way, perceived as a pain. Some of the kriyas are painful. I just got a question from a gentleman here on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and read it here because I won't read his name, but and I have not answered him yet. But I think it's an important thing for people to know about. And here's what he writes. He says, "Hello, Master Chrism." He says, "I activated my Kundalini through meditation 2 years ago, and in hindsight, I forced it and was not yet ready for it. Since then, I have had very intense back pain, so much so that I am crying sometimes, and I have to lie on the floor because of the intense back pain. I'm afraid that I have damaged my back forever. Yesterday, I went to a doctor I'm acquainted with, an orthopedist, and he sends me to another doctor to make an x-ray of my spine because my spine is curved in the wrong direction, exactly at the height of my heart. I'm going to go do the x-ray. I'm sure the curvature comes from my Kundalini pushing up and being blocked at the heart area. Can you help me? What can I do? Will it help to meditate and focus on the heart chakra to open so the pressure is reduced? Would Kriya Yoga help? Or make invocations to Shiva? What can I do? What can I do?" Did you guys hear that at all?
Yeah, it was a long one. I'm glad I wasn't asking you that question. Yeah.
So yeah, this it can manifest as pain on the body, especially if you storm the gates of heaven. If you force your Kundalini, like these third eye people are doing, they want to open the third eye because they want to have all of this, phenomena. When you force these areas to open up and you force the Kundalini to come into your system, boy, oh boy, you better put your pain seatbelts on because it can hurt. It can hurt a lot. And, there are very few remediations for that because you have forced it. You have poured gasoline on your foot. You have lit a match and you have dropped that match on the gasoline you just poured on your foot. Except in this case, it's your spine. So yeah, now I'm gonna, I'll give him as constructive an answer as I can. But sometimes when you push in these areas, it'll push back. And most of the pushback really is the lack of preparation for the body to process such levels of energy. And so for this guy, I would definitely tell him not to do heart chakra meditations to try to force the spine to go. I mean, he's just basically doing the same thing he did to get himself into that bad fix, and he's trying to do the reverse. And it's just you've got to just pull back, and you need to start having a conversation with the Kundalini. You don't need to go at it from an outside in, because it's not an outside in issue. It's an inside out issue. And so you've got to go in first. You can solve the problem from within with the Kundalini, that rather than from outside of where the problem was started. So there you have that. Now with the guy that's feeling that the energy has fallen, no, the energy is omnipresently there, but certain areas in the body will be chosen by the Kundalini for specific upgrades. So she might upgrade the left foot, and you'll feel pins and needles. You'll feel maybe some sharp pains on the left foot. In some cases, you'll feel it getting very warm, very hot. You may have that big toe, the big toenail turn completely black. And nothing of the same will happen on the right side. Maybe not for a number of years. And then, boom, all of a sudden, the right foot will start getting worked on. And so you need to stop associating specific levels of tactility to it's your ego ideology of the linear movement of what your expectations of Kundalini are that is getting in the way. Okay, she can activate transitional changes upon any part of the body at any time that the Kundalini wants to. And you just need to really begin to surrender yourself completely in these areas. Let your foot flex, let your calves flex, do some exercise, do some meditation. Whatever that the Kundalini itself propels you to do within is the best thing for you to do. And don't force the Kundalini to do anything. Accept her grace upon you the way she chooses to give it, and have trust and faith and the competency of a strong trust as you work with your Kundalini. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Yeah, this is a little connected. The last few nights in my body, I've been so tired, but sleep hasn't come easily. Last night, this person had a very strange experience. So hard to get to sleep, couldn't be still. Kept feeling what I can only describe as energy flowing through my second, third, and fourth chakras. Felt no control over my body. Kept waking up, flipping this way, flipping that way, grabbing and rubbing my body. I think I even jumped out and paced around the room. I remember little bits, it's still hazy. I'm trying not to be unsettled, but at this point I'm feeling clueless. I would appreciate your thoughts, please.
Well, my thoughts about this person is basically ditto with the last question that I answered. You've got to surrender to this. Yeah. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is, just because you can't sleep for a certain amount of nights doesn't mean that anything's wrong. Sometimes it means that a lot more is going on that is correct, that is right, but that is not, that your body isn't used to. And so you go into levels of fear because you're not used to it. It's strange to you. Nothing is wrong with what I just heard this person describe. That is a natural thing, and you get up, you pace around sometimes, and you go back to sleep. Sometimes when you're getting transformed within the 1 through 5, it's going to have a very, very, very strong physical ramification, and you won't be able to find a comfortable spot on the bed, especially if you get around 3 o'clock in the morning. Go with this, surrender to this, nothing is wrong. It's all good. Things are going well. Over.
Great, Chrism. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is another early morning question. Early this morning, before I got up, I felt a strong power engulfing me, pushing me from my back and over my head. It didn't feel like anyone's palm, but it felt as if I was deeply compressed but it felt as if it was deeply compressed air from both sides. It felt good, but I wasn't too sure. After a minute or so, my deep urge to move made the whole feeling vanish. What could that mean?
Made the whole feeling vanish?
Yes, I think when the person moved, it stopped.
Ah, okay, all right. I think that's okay. I have had that happen myself before. You'll get a lot of phenomena, and then you have to move, and it's just that movement, just boom, it's almost like a bubble of phenomena is occurring, and your movement pops that bubble. Does that make any sense, Amelia?
Yeah, it does. It's like you have to be still for while it's happening, but the movement, I don't know, stops, changes it, yeah.
Now, and yet sometimes when you're, sometimes your spine will convulse all by itself, and the Kundalini will engender that level of movement, and of course that movement will be, you'll have some phenomena associated with that movement, but sometimes you just have to be still, and really try not to go too far into the expectation of phenomena. People really enjoy the phenomena because it really makes you feel like, wow, I'm really moving along here, and this is good, this is fine, but try not to get overly attached to it, so much so to the point where your little expectation bubble is burst because you moved and the phenomena has stopped. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. Can you just speak a little bit maybe about pain again? I'd like to ask you, that gentleman you referred to there spoke about a change in his spine, and sometimes people can have pains in their organs. Like I've had extreme pain in my heart, and you can have pains in organs. Does this mean that the organs themselves are being physically changed? And is the fear that we have that they will be damaged? Is that where we need to... Yes?
Go ahead.
Well, I know, yes, so I'm just wondering about the fear people have. Is change doesn't necessarily mean damage, or could you just speak about that maybe, Chrism, the pain and the actual changes in the physicalness?
Pain does not equate to damage. Okay, pain equates to discomfort. It doesn't necessarily mean damaged. When a child has teething pains, does that mean that they're being damaged?
No, of course not.
No.
Yes, their skin is changing. Yeah, their gum.
It's painful. The gum tissue's changing, everything's changing, but they're not being damaged. And it's the same thing with the Kundalini. The Kundalini is not damaging anyone. Okay, even with this guy that I read, it's having the spine go, into a severe curve. That's not to say that it won't be straightened out later on. But when you force things, you can incur damage on yourself that the Kundalini may or may not, depending on what it wants to do, clear it up for you. But you can see that this guy's going to an orthopedic, he's getting x-rays done, they're going to go in there surgically and remove this, that kind of bullshit. And, and I'm not saying that he's going to do that, but, that would be, you'd follow that linear line, and that would be kind of the approach that people would take. And so I don't feel that the Kundalini is ever giving a person pain that is not required for the transformation to take place. Okay.
So the Kundalini is not giving pain that is never... Say that again. The Kundalini doesn't give pain that is not required in order for the transformation to take place.
Right.
The pain is always required for the transformation to take place.
No. The pain is not always required. It's not always required. Okay. I did not say that. I say...
Oh, I know you didn't. I'm trying to clarify.
Yeah. I mean, when you feel
But that's the
pain,
truth.
when you feel pain from the Kundalini, the pain is there as part of the transformation. When you feel pleasure from the Kundalini, that pleasure is there because of the transformation from the Kundalini. It is not necessary that you feel pain or pleasure at every single moment, but sometimes you do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I have a question that I'm going to read here. So, okay, everyone, I need your help badly. I do trust the divine God to clarify the events of today. I know my Creator will do that. But being the human that I am, I really could use immediate help and input on today. A little background on me. I moved to South Carolina a few weeks ago. I started fresh life. I have had my husband, mom, and just 2 weeks ago, brother die. So she's had her husband and her mother and her brother just 2 weeks ago die. I'm going to give you a little more info might help in this assessment. Other family members have died. I just want you to know I have big losses. Okay, so I get here. Me, my dog, and my birds. Oh, God, she's just going weird now. I leave for 5 days until, there's a hurricane hit South Carolina, and her and her dogs and her birds leave for 5 days until it passes. So that gives some idea of the stress I've had. Now, I've had a new job for 3 weeks, sure. And things have been sinking in and going better this week. But today I'm sitting here and suddenly out of nowhere, a big squeezing feeling at the center of my chest and a huge sensation of burning and tingling rushed right up my chest and neck and into my head tingling and burning. At that point, palpitations. I was freaking out and scared, so much like a heart issue. Went to the ER and I was cleared as fine, but that still doesn't answer what that was. It rushed up so fast and into my head, it scared the crap out of me. What was it? Have had severe breast pain for days, but today I wasn't when this happened. So scary when you don't know what is happening. That's the key right there. When you don't know what is happening, felt so much like a heart issue. It was kind of like something went off inside me, went straight up into my head, then my head burning and tingling. Then, of course, anxiety kicked in, and I was so freaked out. Please help. Also, would a vitamin deficiency cause this freaky thing to happen? I really need some help here. Have had breast and chest pain. Doc at the ER says it's something viral that causes musculoskeletal issues and pain. That doesn't really make me feel any better. Also, before I moved here, I was talking about my move to a friend, and a hawk flew straight into a window right near us. Splat! He eventually got off the ground and flew to a nearby building. I got pics. Was this a message for me? Was it a totem animal, I believe? Message to keep my eyes open, pay attention, and be attentive to my new move? And furthermore, a dragonfly came to me about 2 weeks before that was there with symbol of major changes. It was making loud clapping sound outside my bedroom window. A dragonfly can't do that unless it's a divine sound. Their wings can't be like that. I got to think of that also. Oh, my God. Jesus.
Can I just tell listeners, Chrism does this to me all the time. With the voice.
This is a clear sign, though. This is a clear sign of people having Kundalini and not practicing the safeties and really going into fear and levels of actual, medical paranoia when it comes to these infusive episodes that the Kundalini will bring. And I mean infusive, not effusive. So, the rush of energy up her spine out top of the head, full on Kundalini. Nothing is being damaged. The only thing that's sending her over the edge is her own fear. Nothing for her to worry about. And then she's reaching into animal totems and hawks and dragonflies. And no, that is not either a message for her, except maybe to start paying attention to her Kundalini. As both of those creatures, she is correct, are Kundalini creatures. the dragonfly bouncing against your window could be, you could interpret that as the Kundalini bouncing against your inner window and going, hey, don't go into fear. This is part of the process. No need for you to fear. Has nothing to do with the death of your husband, your mother, or your brother. Has nothing to do with the hurricane. Okay? This is a person that's getting way wrapped up into their phenomena and letting their imagination and their ego just go to town with thinking up and creating things for an explanation of the phenomena to be given. And this is not good. This is how somebody can really get themselves whipped up into a frenzy and then do something unfortunate based upon the frenzy that they're getting themselves whipped up into. It's very something that you want to allow yourself, your ego self, to have the leverage to do. You need to stay calm and trust your Kundalini. This person's on a Kundalini group. So this person she knows that there's a good possibility, if not probability, of this being Kundalini work. And it most certainly is. And so they don't need to get, whipped or wrapped up into a frenzy like this, simply because they're having things that are out of the normal happen to them. That is part of the whole deal with Kundalini, is to have, things that are not of the normal happen to you. That is what it is to step from the mundane world and to join half of you with a divine world. The impossible can happen. The improbable can happen. The strange can happen. The mystical can happen. And you don't want to just allow your emotions and your fear to take hold of you so strongly that you begin to manifest a psychosis based upon that fear. I hope I'm being clear with that. Okay.
Oh, I think so, Chrism. I think I know who that person. I think that person has written about the if it's, well, I won't say because maybe it's a different person, but I mean, sometimes, Chrism, the phenomena that we read about and the symptoms we read about, they sound, it's totally different when they really begin to happen. When that lady is talking there about her symptoms, I've had something recently that, was really very similar. It was a heart attack. It was a heart attack in every single sense of the word. The crushing, everything about it, except I knew it was Kundalini. It didn't, she was really doing stuff in my heart. I mean, it was beyond a heart attack, really. And if you pause, and if you do what Chrism says, and if you don't go into fear, you'll actually feel how that, it couldn't possibly be a heart attack because you would be dead by now. It is so strong. It goes, the panic that you're feeling has nothing to do with it. That's your ego. So if you cannot go into fear and just allow what is being done to happen, you will be amazed at, and you will actually be grateful for it, and you will come to see that it is normal within the context of a Kundalini development. Because that lady, if she keeps going, she will work herself into a psychosis. She really will. Yeah. And that's very hard to come back from, guys. Very hard to come back from, because you have got, it's like a cascade, one thing leads to another and to another. So really, if she's listening to this, she needs to stop doing that. She's been to the ER, her heart is fine. She's done that now. She knows. Listen to what Chrism is saying. Listen to the fact that this is Kundalini. Listen to what the Kundalini is doing in your body, and don't go into fear. It's an infusion. It's part of the transformation. It's actually amazingly wonderful if you can take your ego out of it, take your fears out of it, and just let the Kundalini do what she's doing.
I totally second that. Very nice. Nicely stated. Now I'm going to change the subject a little bit here. A long time ago, I was invited by a gentleman named Maurice Alexander at MAURICEHH123 at gmail.com. And he was inviting me to a Kundalini Congress. And at this Congress, he was inviting as many people as he could find that had any kind of a teaching about the Kundalini. Everybody from Bonnie Greenwell and other people, doctors and whatnot. And today he sent me the email. We already did the interview, and I gave him the answers to any of the questions that he gave to me. And this is what he's saying to me now. He's saying, "Dear Chrism, I'm getting per email serious accusations about you from credible people. I do not judge that these statements are true or false. In my role as an organizer, I see myself compelled to withdraw your contribution and participation in the Kundalini Congress to the point where clarity about these accusations prevails. Thank you for your understanding. And I would like any of you that may have been helped by anything that I have said in any of these programs to write Maurice Alexander, and this is his email again, M as in Mary, AURICEHH123 at gmail.com. And I'm not asking to be put back into the Congress or anything like that. But, the fact that he's falling victim to people that disagree with my information about the Kundalini, well, that's a different deal. And so if you feel pulled strongly enough that anything that I have said has maybe helped you or helped other people, then please write him and let him know that that is the case, and we'll just see what he does. Any comment on that, Santara?
Oh, Chrism, it just makes me sad. I feel, a wave of sadness comes because I know that this is a repetition and of things that it's just wrong. It upsets me a little. It upsets me a lot, really, but it's not right. It's not right. But people listen to what's been said and they are influenced greatly. I actually joined the Congress, interestingly enough, because you had to listen to these interviews, you had to give your email address, and they asked you some questions as well about, why you were interested. And I stated in that, how I'd had my awakening in 2007 and how in 2009 I was guided to you as my teacher. And I said to him how without that guidance and without your teachings, they have been so incredibly helpful to me. I would not have moved as I have without them. So it's really, I'm obsessed to hear that now that you're not going to be there and that other people are not going to benefit, people who haven't heard from you before and who don't know of your teachings. I feel it's such a loss for those people. So, yeah, that makes me sad. I shall certainly write him, Chris.
If anybody can write him, anybody that may have been helped, that would certainly maybe help others that are going through difficulties on this path. I would like to thank you, Amelia, for hosting this program. I would like to thank everybody who has dialed in today, Joey, Rosemary, and everybody who's in the chat room, Andrew and Atlantis and the guests and Mary Jean, Michelle, and iMagicArt. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this day. And look forward to hopefully having you join us next Wednesday. Same Kundalini station, same Kundalini channel. I will go ahead and end this program the way I've begun it. Thanks for listening, everyone.